Welcome to Conversations with Leaders in Luxury. I'm Greg Furman, founder and chairman of the Luxury Marketing Council, and recently appointed Dean of Mercy College's Global Center for Luxury Marketing. I'm here today with Michael Cheah, Director of the Center for International Business and a Portfolio Manager at AIG Sun America. Michael, it's delightful to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what got you into the financial business and what led you to do what you're doing now with AIG Sun America.
Greg, first, thank you very much for inviting me here.
Oh, my pleasure. Our pleasure.
Well, my story is really quite simple. After graduating, like most young people, I really have no idea what I want to do with my life.
Yeah, that makes two of us at that point in our lives.
Compared to some of today's young people,
yes.
They know exactly what they want.
Yes.
At that time, this is in the early 80s, and I was fortunate. I got into the Central Bank of Singapore.
Is that where did you grow up in Singapore, or?
Well, I kind of interesting. I grew up in Malaysia.
Okay.
I did my high school in Australia, and through some strange circumstances, I ended up studying in the University of Singapore. And upon graduation, I got a job with the Central Bank of Singapore. And at first, it was a rather uninteresting job to me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was hired as an EDP auditor. At that time, we called it EDP. Right? We don't have PC in the popular world yet. Right? We call it electronic data processing auditor.
Right.
And I got a job, and I was like, what is this?
Right.
As it turned out, it is one of the best things that happened to me.
Really?
Yeah, because as an auditor, I get to walk all over the central bank. I get to walk into any police office and say, tell me, what do you do? And that creates this sense of curiosity in me, in wanting to know everybody's job. And it also gives me the opportunity to network with a lot of senior people. And for some strange reason, I enjoy computers. At that time, we don't have, we have something called VCAL, which is like the great-grandfather of Excel. And I did some special project for senior people. And before I know it, they moved me to the trading room. And from the trading room, doing simple things like open market operation, which means I assist in the intervention of currency.
So actually trading rather than technology development.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's an interesting move.
Yes.
I would think.
Yeah. It's almost complete opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from the open market operation, I then move on to gold, and then bonds. And within the bond division, I move from Japan to the UK, gilts to treasury market. And before I know it, I was sent to New York to be part of the representative office. And time passed quickly, and finally, when I left the central bank, I realized I spent 17 years of my life there. It was good. It was good. I left as a chief representative of the New York office, and it was a bit intimidating at first when I got into the private sector. Because performance is all about performance.
Sure.
And again, that was 1999, and before I know it, I have been with this company for 13 years. So I'm one of these rare people that has only worked for 2 organizations in my whole life. And
Is your role at AIG Sun America within a particular sphere of financial products and services, or specific international focus?
I'm in charge of all the treasury and mortgage-backed securities mutual fund.
Globally?
No, just American.
American, okay. Well, that's still a big portfolio.
Yes. And I enjoy the job very much.
How much under management, if I can
$1
ask?
billion. Yeah. Until 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And when the market crashed in 2008, I then began to ask myself, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm.
Do I still want to remain in the financial world? And at that time, by coincidence, I was invited to teach at one of the Ivy League university,
Mm-hmm.
and I was fortunate enough that the dean gave me carte blanche.
Which university?
New York University.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You told me this a while back, I remember now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The business school?
No, this is the Center for Global Affairs.
Okay,
Yeah.
so more public policy, okay,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough that the dean allows me carte blanche to teach what I want to teach.
Mhm.
And after some soul searching, I realized that I could share with a lot of the younger people
Mhm.
my experience in both the central banking world and the portfolio management world. And what I really enjoy researching and sharing is really a deeper understanding of policy, specifically transmission and limitation of policy. A lot of people
Policy as pertains to the nature of trading?
think a policy policy with regards to monetary, fiscal, and
Mhm.
currency policy.
Right.
And today we read about what
Yeah, something that's been in the news for a while now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yes, yes. Well,
For better or for worse?
well, it's in the news, but
Yeah.
but you know when people hear that Bernanke today announced a new measure to stimulate the economy, nobody take the time to explain
Mhm.
what Bernanke is doing
Right,
at the Federal Reserve level, transmit to you and I
yes.
and the man in the street.
Yeah, into English so people understand.
Yes, and he has been trying very hard, very creative new ideas. But
Mhm.
how come we are not growing as fast as we should? Where are the blockages? Why are there limitations in policy? And it's important for people to realize that policy sometimes are not magic bullet.
Mhm.
There is cost and benefit. So I taught that for a few years. I'm still teaching now, and I've known Dean Weiss for a while. Dean Weiss recruited me at Molloy College.
Mhm.
At that time, I wasn't sure if I want to take on a new assignment.
Is your home in New York or up
In New York.
In New York, not up by Dobbs Ferry. So when you teach here, you teach here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I teach here. Yeah, and when Dean Weiss first recruited me for Molloy College,
Mhm.
I remember we had coffee and he told me that he's a new dean for Molloy College Business School, and he asked me to help him to teach. And I said, what is a Molloy College?
Right.
And how do I get?
I had the same question. I didn't know what it was.
And how do I get there from
Yeah,
from downtown to?
Can you get there from here?
Yeah, for someone like me, I'm used to the New York subway system.
Right.
Anything beyond that,
That's
it's
right.
like a black hole to me.
Yeah.
Right? He convinced me that what he's doing is very important. And very quickly, fast forward to today, he has asked me to help him in Mercy College to be the director for Center for International Business.
But I think you're being very modest, if I may say so, because I think you had already engaged in a way that was bringing you a lot of joy in education. So in a sense, he was preaching to the converted by the time you met,
Yes, yes.
and giving you another carte blanche opportunity, if I may say. No?
Yes, yes. It's a carte blanche at a different dimension,
Mm-hmm.
because he and I share the same philosophy that number one, business education should be taught by people with business experience.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important that we have professors with strong academic credential and research. But would it be nice also for the students to hear from somebody?
Real people, in the sense of real world experience as opposed to theoretical experience.
Yes, somebody who can say that why sometimes this work
Mhm.
and why sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And what he and I also believe is that looking at my own children's education in this country, it's a great country, great education system, but there's something lacking. And that is we don't give them a greater sense of awareness
Mm-hmm.
of what is happening in the rest of the world. and I would challenge a lot of business school college students and say, name me the premier of China.
I've just back from London, Rome before Thanksgiving, and then Guangzhou, Beijing. So sometimes when you travel and you spend an intense period of time and you turn on the TV
Yeah.
when you're exhausted at night, which I did a lot of, because you can't sleep. What you realize is that the array of coverage and the global perspective from a business standpoint, from a public affairs standpoint in Rome or London or Guangzhou or Beijing is so much broader than what the American media brings to the American community, whether it be print or electronic.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, you almost feel like America is a little bit of keeping the world at bay. To your point, as opposed to broadening people's understanding of the world and providing a much greater and intelligent coverage around the issue that we are part of a bigger world, which is also getting smaller faster.
Yeah, yes. And we come to the idea that if business school don't take the initiative of opening up this young people's mind,
Who's going to do it?
who's going to do
That's
it?
right.
And what better way
Yep.
to bring sophomore, bring them to China for 10 days.
Wow.
Let them see for themselves.
This is undergrad or grad? For
Undergraduate.
You're doing this now.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Because we want to engage.
I want to be a sophomore in your class in my next life.
I assure you, you would open your eyes.
Wow.
But
And how many cities?
Well, the trip on top of the mandatory 1 day of visiting the Great Wall,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It has 3 parts. The first part is a business competition. The second part is
While there.
while there. Second part is a day of lectures, and the third part is to visit factories. I'm most excited about the business competition
Yeah.
because before I send the students out, 3 weeks before the trip, I assign them into teams.
How many students?
2 American and 2 Chinese students
The
in one team.
total in the trip.
20 students.
20. So
Yeah.
you got a good group there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we would have 2 American students, 2 Chinese students in one team.
Yes.
Right, so they have different teams. Right?
And when you say Chinese, you mean Chinese Mandarin speaking or Cantonese speaking Chinese?
Yes. Yes.
And Chinese citizens or American Chinese
No,
students?
this would be Chinese citizens.
So
and-
when they're there, they become engaged?
No, what I do is that 3 weeks before the
Yes.
trip,
Yes.
I would have gotten names of students who are interested to participate from China.
Got it.
And I'll match it
Right.
with the
And then
American
you bring
students.
our young people over.
Before that,
Yes.
when I give them the name, I
Yeah.
will say, okay, email your partners
Right.
and
Right.
start working, because I've
Right.
assigned you guys a team. Team A, you are fast food. Team B, you are cell phone. Team C, you are luxury goods. Come up with a global business idea, right?
Out of the box.
Out of the box.
Something that's not being thought of presently,
That's right.
based on a strategic understanding of where the business is now.
Yes.
And they have 3 weeks to get their ducks in order
They,
before.
they get 3 weeks to email each other.
Emails, research.
Yes, and then when we get there,
Yeah.
we would have an afternoon in this university,
Mhm.
and we are very fortunate because we are able to partner with Fudan University. Fudan University in Shanghai, even though it's number 3,
Mhm.
it is the most progressive in terms of an international
Perspective.
perspective.
Mhm.
Right? And here, our students get to meet their counterpart, young people, and they spend 2 hours hashing through the ideas again.
Mhm.
And on that day itself, when I introduce the idea
Mhm.
and I tell them what it takes to win,
Mhm.
and I will reinforce to the students that you are here to learn from each other. And for the American students, I want you to appreciate how driven the Chinese students are, right? How much research they have done in the background.
That must be an eye opener for the Americans.
Yes, yes. But having said this,
You can't go to China now and not feel the energy. It's palpable. It's in the air.
yes, yes. And I want the American students to feel that. And more important, I want them to get excited
Yes,
with that.
especially.
And having said this, I then turn to the Chinese student and I tell the Chinese student, we have always admired the American students' creativity and their ability to communicate.
Hmm.
This is an opportunity for you to learn from the American students. You guys together can be extremely powerful. And I tell them that,
Because sometimes, if I may, there is a slightly, how would I say, almost military feeling to the way business is done in China. It's with as
memorization.
as hard as they work, as intelligent and aggressive as they are. There's almost a little bit of a trepidation to go outside of the box and to relax a little bit, to allow, as only relaxation can allow, great ideas to emerge.
Yes.
So it's a nice yin and yang.
Yes, that's right. Especially when the challenge is come out with a great new business idea.
Right.
You need to do a lot of industry background.
Yeah, you have to know the business group.
Yes, and you have to have the creativity spark.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So, and
And then who judges?
well, you'll be the faculty member.
Okay.
Yes, and we tell them that we judge them based on 4 criteria,
Mhm.
right? A, power of analysis.
Yeah. Rooted
B-
in the real world
Yes.
business.
Yes. Can you make a money out of
Metrics.
this?
Yes.
Right? Second, sense of imagination. And third, sense of reality. If you have too much imagination, no
Yeah,
reality.
there you go.
Okay.
It's a balloon.
Right? Not going to work.
Right, right.
And it's quite interesting that the first time I said this, one of the students put up their hand and say, Professor, may I ask a question? I said, yeah, sure. Why are you doing this? What drives you to do this? We appreciate what you're doing for us, but what drives you to do
Yeah.
this? And I told them that it is my dream. My dream. If I do this every year, 10, 15 years from now, I wake up one morning and I get an email from, I can't remember who, and it'll be, Professor Cheah, remember back in XX years,
Mhm.
you brought a group of students to Fudan,
Yeah.
right? And we're happy to tell you that
Fantastic.
the people that introduced to us, we have worked all these years,
Hmm.
and we are going to go IPO.
Right.
We want you to be part of the bell ringing. Would you
Right.
come? I said,
This is a real true story.
yes. And I look for that day.
Yes.
I look for that day. And
Yeah.
I'm confident.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm confident that if I do this every year,
Yeah.
I will get my dream.
And how many years now have you been?
3 years.
I'll share one with you from my background. You know, for about 9 years, I created the first accredited course on luxury marketing at NYU grad school.
Wow. Okay.
So one of my students,
Yeah.
Mayur Bhagnavar, 5 years ago was my student in the graduate school. Very good guy. And you know how you meet certain people and it's just a click. And he was challenging, he was smart, got great grades, and we kind of clicked. So last February,
Yeah.
well, let's say last February, I was in Russia, but he calls me now November of 2011, and he says, Professor Furman, and I said, I'm in trouble now. He says, it's Mayur. I'm heading up sales and marketing for Moet Hennessy for all of Russia. I've been here for 3 years, and I would like to help you launch the Luxury Marketing Council in Moscow and St. Petersburg. So in February, he organized the entire thing,
Yeah.
found sponsors to bring me over, and we launched the Luxury Marketing Council in Russia at the Ritz-Carlton, and he orchestrated the entire thing.
That's so good.
Right? So it's
You got
fantastic.
the sense of fulfillment.
Yeah,
right?
of course, of course.
I want what you had.
Yeah, it was magic. Well, I mean, I think it's clear that that's what's needed. I mean, the way you feel about education, and you continue to do your portfolio
Yes,
management
yes.
As part of this, but find the time to do this, and you do now 1 trip a year.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that's so great about Mercy College, and one of the nice things about doing these interviews is that we get a chance to actually have a conversation with one another.
Mm.
So Let's talk just a little bit in conclusion.
Yeah.
Step back a little bit, and I'll start with a McKinsey statistic that says by 2015, mainland China will account globally for 25% of the world's purchase of luxury products and services. By 2025, they are saying that it will be as high as 50%, and just in the luxury area. So what are some of the major trends, not just from an academic standpoint, but possibly that too, but from a cultural business standpoint, how are you seeing it unfold? How do you see China emerging, and what are some of the highlights of trends that you see given what you're doing and everything that you've brought to the table from a marketing and your life experience standpoint?
The one question that I keep asking myself every time I go to China, I try to assess who owns China. It's a very simple question, because if you look at China, if you treat China as a picture,
Yes.
right, as a photograph,
Mainland China.
yeah, mainland China,
Yes, yeah, just
right, as a snapshot, as a photograph,
yes.
you can always find something wrong with it, okay?
Right.
But if you look at China as a movie, ever since Mao's day to where today they are today, it's a great movie. They have done well. But it's always important to ask the question, who owns China? Why? Because Deng Xiaoping did a great job by privatizing a great part of China. Before that, everything was owned by China Inc.
Mm-hmm.
China Central Government Inc. And when Deng Xiaoping opened it up, people are able to own their own home. People are able to buy shares. Because at the end of the day, you want to share the wealth with the people at large.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The verdict is still unclear, but a lot of economists is getting to the view that the last 10 years, there has been a setback. Right? Government has started to re-own a lot of things. A lot of private companies have been bought over by state-owned enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for me, I'm quite excited with the new leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, there are signs that they want to reopen up the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that would create a more sustainable growth
Yeah.
in China, where luxury goods is not just for the super rich,
Right.
but it will be more for the middle class,
Right.
and you have a broader
Right.
group of middle
Well,
class.
the migration from the country to the city, the increasing entrepreneurialism of those that are migrating,
Yes.
and I think, just based on my limited experience in this last trip, one of the things that I was delighted by was that I think the people that were there, which were good high-level leaders in business, academia, culture, and the arts, they genuinely believe that they have a lot to learn from the West. They genuinely believe that the West has a lot to learn from them, so they're not going to buy our approach, say in terms of environment or education, of a piece, but they're going to look for the best and then customize it. And I just felt that the level of caring for getting it right, whether it be environmental, corporate social responsibility, or just broadening the level of play of business, I felt there was a real integrity there. And I don't think the American media is doing it justice, this movement within China justice. In fact, one of the things, I was with a group called Wall Street Without Walls, which are private equity people who are looking to also do well by doing good. So involving environmental people as business partners, not as a dole or a handout. And one of the things that a couple of the key people there, who I want you to meet, told me is that they were almost disgusted with the lack of insight and the polarized nature of the way media is presenting China, not just to the business community, but to the nation. Do you see that?
Unfortunately, some people in the media, they have their own sense of priority and their own background of seeing things.
Yeah.
Without trying to put themselves into other people's shoes. And at the end of the day, it's about balance.
Yeah.
It's about balance, right? And about suitability. the key point is what we have today is a very confident China.
I'll say.
Okay, and they are able to say that to the West that yes, hamburger is good for you, but thank you for introducing hamburger to us.
And we don't want the chemicals.
But it doesn't mean that I have to eat hamburger like you every day,
Right.
right? Because we are different.
Right.
Our culture is different. Our history is different. The stage of development is different.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of give and take.
There was an interesting discussion about 590 rural communities that are poverty level. And there was a woman who was an author there that wrote about the disconnect between natural living and people living in along the lines of an agricultural model where you can taste the chicken, where the food is not full of chemicals. And one of the things she said was, we want the West up to a point, but we don't want to lose all of the cultures, the hundreds of cultures that are very rich. And there are parts of China that the U.S. and other Western countries could learn from the standpoint of nutrition, and not just from nutrition in terms of values. You know, one of the things I like about China, it takes me back to World War II when my father was coming out of the war, and in the U.S. there was this tremendous sense of energy about people, work, family, education. Well, that's China today. And I think we've here lost that a little bit, and I think we should be inspired by that here.
Well, this is also why I want to bring the young people to China, because again, it's a fault of the media. They get too much of how China is taking away all our jobs. China is a threat. I want the young people to go to China and say, hey, guess what? There are opportunities in China, and I can be part of this opportunity. And I want them a sense of adventure. Just like many Americans in New York now, they come from Iowa. They're happy there, but they say, you know what? I want
it's hard
to
to find a native New Yorker.
I want to challenge myself in New York
Right.
City, right? And I want the American student to say, I want to challenge myself against the best of the best. And if they're in China, I want to see who they are. If they're in India, I want to see who they are. That's where we get better citizens.
Well, I think that's probably a perfect way to close our discussion. I hope it's going to be the beginning of many,
Yes.
not just in front of cameras, but together.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the opportunity to be a colleague and to work with you, and I thank you, Michael, for being with us very much, and I look forward to some good things together.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us at Conversations with Leaders in Luxury, and Michael Cheah, Director of the Center for International Business and Portfolio Manager at AIG Sun America. Thank you all for watching, for viewing, Mercy College for producing this, and each of you for the investment of your time and the luxury of your company.